Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? This is going to be kind of a different video. You're talking about what are you seeing in the background here? Because some people have been asking me to make some videos about bass stuff and whatnot, so I figured I'd talk about some bass stuff. And unfortunately, being in landscape, you're not going to get really good looks at some of these things. But anyhow, what's on the wall here? This here is a 1998 Hamer 12-string long-scale bass, made in the United States. It's pretty cool. I picked it up, man, 2011 maybe, 2010, something like that. I don't play it enough. It is a really cool instrument. It is kind of, because it's long scale, it's more of like a King's X type feel than it is a Cheap Trick feel. I wish it was a shorter scale, but it's the one that was available. I used to have an 8-string bass at one point, which I shouldn't have sold. It was a Warmoth bass. This thing is really, really cool, though. I like it. I just stink at playing it. It is a very physical instrument to play, but I love Cheap Trick. I grew up listening to that stuff. You can actually see some of the dust on it. That's terrible because I haven't played it in a while. Great bass. So a lot of fun. It's just, it's physically very demanding to play, but really, really cool and unusual instrument. And you can get a tone like no other with this thing. This next thing right here is also a 1998, and this is a Music Man Stingray 5-string. It is actually like kind of like translucent teal over ash. You can actually, I'm not sure if you can really see some of that in there. It's actually real wood. You can see the real wood grain. Really cool, and one of my favorite things about the 5-string Music Man is the 5-position switch, or the 3-position switch. I'm sorry, I'm thinking Stratocaster. So you can go from the standard, right now it's in parallel mode, but you can put it in series mode all the way up front, or just go single coil mode. You get 3 different sounds out of this thing, so pretty cool instrument. Music Man used to make a bass called the Sterling, which is not to be confused with Sterling by Music Man, where it was kind of a jazz-based profile. And they made it back in the 90s, and it also had that 3-position switch, and I wish I'd bought one. I wanted to buy one of these as well in the 90s, and went to this place called Select Guitars in Norwalk, Connecticut, and never bought one. And so I was really kind of excited when I found this one and grabbed it. And it's just a nice piece of wood. Really nice place, pretty neck, bird's eye and all that kind of stuff, and just cool instrument. So I like this one quite a bit. And, Music Mans are kind of a love-hate kind of thing because they do have this tone, and that's their tone. All right, now, well, you've seen me unbox these two guys. This is a Valenti. This is number 320, and this is a Verrazano series by Nino Valenti. It is a 5-string, clearly, and it's got Delano pickups and a preamp and pretty cool bass. It is a really neat jazz bass, take on the jazz bass thing, just a real pleasure to play. Really, really cool bass. I'm really glad that, I wanted to buy some Valentis for a long time, and this one has definitely made me happy. It gives me more of a, I didn't have a 5-string for years, and I used to have a Modulus Graphite 5-string, which I sold during a dark period. I wish I hadn't, and I really wanted a 5-string again, so, I grabbed this Music Man, and then I grabbed this Valenti, and they are really like fire and ice, totally different animals. So both really, really cool. And this sucker right here is, I forget the number. Now, isn't that terrible? It's somewhere, 260 something, 264, 246. It's a really cool custom series Valenti jazz bass with the big Blade Man pickups. So in parallel, I think it's a one of a kind. I don't think you put those in any other bass. But really, really cool. And you can tell the differences between the custom series and the Verrazano series. Like the fingerboard right here is rounded, not just the fret ends. Little touches here and there make it, like a cooler bass. Not that this bass isn't cool, but just, the custom series is pretty awesome. So, I like both these basses quite a bit. And this, I'm getting a text now. This right here, this is the bad boy. I've had this guy for over 20 years. This is a 1986 Tobias. Look at that thing, huh? That's beautiful. And that is a pre-Gibson Tobias. That's one actually made by Michael Tobias before he sold out to Gibson, and then his 5-year no-compete before starting Michael Tobias Design. And it is just a real pleasure. It is a 4-string, and I like it just fine. It is kind of his recipe on the precision bass. I remember talking to him after I bought this thing, and the story behind buying this bass was I was going to go and buy a Hamer Cruise bass back when they were, they made a jazz bass copy, which was really, really cool. There was a shop called Milford Music in Milford, Connecticut, which is no longer there, run by this guy, Mike Nuno, who had like awesome stuff. And also this guy, John Stafford, who now runs Killer Burst Guitars in Bethany, Connecticut. And so I walk in there and I'm going to buy one of those cruise basses. That's what I'm going to do. And I go there and order one. And instead, this was hanging on the wall. And I said, what is that? And Mike says, you don't want to know. And so I ended up buying it. And, never regretted it. This is a phenomenal bass. And really, really cool. So I called Michael Tobias when I bought it. I'm trying to remember how long it was. Did I buy it in 1995 or before that? Somewhere around there. I've had it for a long time. Not 30 years, but definitely over 20, maybe 25. And something like that. So I talked to Michael Tobias, who instantly looked up his book, knew what it was, and he said this was kind of his take on a precision bass. And I tell you what, actually, after playing these jazz basses more, I can really tell, man, this thing really has a P bass tone and vibe to it to a certain extent. But of course, it's got the J bass pickups and positions. It's actually really cool too. This is very unusual. Only just for a while. These are stacked area pots. That's actually volume, tone, and then treble, mid, bass. That's an active passive switch, so it can go either way. And so pretty cool. And so you get this serious J bass vibe, and the passive tone is just wonderful. And so, yeah, that's been my bass for a long, long time. And if I had to sell everything else that I own, I would not sell that. That's the man. So these are the instruments you see, and these are the basses that I have. And how about that? The end.